Hi, welcome to Box on the Box, Rock and Celluloid, BOTBRAC for short. I'm over Box, got a bit of rock for you today. I'm going to be reviewing the new album by QUEENSRYCHE, Digital Noise Alliance. So QUEENSRYCHE, for the uninitiated, are one of the all-time great progressive metal bands. I was thinking about it the other day, and also you've got your kind of bands who are the Titans, and I would say, Black Sabbath, Judas Priest, Iron Maiden, and Metallica kind of stand alone at the top of the Mount Olympus of metal. And then you've got several bands who kind of bring up the rear, so to speak, and push hard, and QUEENSRYCHE are one of those bands. Although they're nowhere near as popular as they were, their legacy from the 1980s is incredibly influential. And of course, in the Operation Mindcrime album, they made one of the great all-time albums of that era, and what many people consider the greatest progressive concept metal album of all time. So back in 2012, they fell out with singer Geoff Tate. Basically kind of taken over the band, and they were in a real slump, just doing mid-tempo kind of albums with not great production, not great playing sometimes, and they managed to get a hold of a singer called Todd La Torre, who was singing for Crimson Glory. He could do a great kind of Geoff Tate sounding vocal. I'm not saying impersonation, because he's got his own quality. There was various legal wranglings. There was two QUEENSRYCHEs at one point, but they managed to break free, and they got to press really quickly their self-titled album in 2013 with Todd on vocals. Basically, original members left with Scott Rockenfield, Michael Wilton, and Eddie Jackson, and had a guitarist called Parker Lundgren in. He was a really good servant to the band, actually. He actually wrote some really good stuff. So this album, I really liked it at the time. I still like it. The production was, the mastering was very hot. It was very loud. It had a very harsh sound, which kind of fit in the Mindcrime tone. They actually brought back some old Roland jazz choruses, which they used to use for the clean sound of that album. Because it was kind of rushed, it only had 9 tracks and 2 short instrumentals, and it was only 35 minutes long, so it kind of, one of the problems with the album, it was kind of missing a couple more tracks to flesh it out. So although the individual tracks were really good, there wasn't really many tracks I didn't like, and had a really cool sort of Rage for Order type sound at times. It was kind of not very defined. The follow-up to that, Condition Human, stretched out the sound more. They did it sort of 2 years later. I think a lot of times when people bring something back, they do tend to get an album out pretty quickly. Kind of like films. Again, for me, it kind of stretched out more interestingly. But again, it was lacking a bit of memorability. Wasn't kind of catchy. Lack of hooks, and we'll come to that. 2019 they did The Verdict, which was pretty punchy, 10-track album, 44 minutes. This got great reviews. I didn't totally get into it. It was kind of heavier. I could see more focus in the sound, but again, there was just a lack of memorable hooks. But I saw the band live on this tour, a good little package tour with Firewind and another band. I can't remember the opening band's name, but they're really good. And it was just an hour and a half show, but Todd La Torre was immense in the vocal department. He didn't drop a note, and he's a charismatic frontman. He's what I call a stand and command guy. He's not running around like Bruce or someone like that. He's kind of holding the stage, bringing people in with his voice, and just doing economic movements, kind of like Dio. I really liked him. In all truth, QUEENSRYCHE weren't always the most charismatic band on stage. They kind of relied on Geoff Tate with that. Eddie Jackson just tended to stand there. Wilton and DeGarmo did move around and stuff, but they weren't massive showmen, and that was pretty much the show. So it's kind of, the focus really was on Todd. So you realise his value to the band, and he actually played drums on the Verdict album. Scott Rockenfield had to take a leave of absence. He just had a child with his partner. I don't know what's happened. Basically, he took leave of absence. There was rumours he was having health trouble, and then things had gone sour with Scott Rockenfield. They've got a drummer in that called Casey Grillo. When I saw them live, he was superb. And I will say that one thing that stands out on this new release is the fact that they've got a great drummer. Scott Rockenfield was amazing. I don't think he's coming back. In Casey Grillo, they've got a guy who is well up to the job. The drums have always been an essential part of QUEENSRYCHE, and that's something where they've always stood out and This guy's a brilliant drummer. So that's a kind of like quick sort of recap of what's been happening in the Reich. What's this album like? I think the first thing you notice is it's heavy. This is the heaviest Queensryche album since Warning and Rage for Order, and the Verdict was taking a heavier edge. I really like production on it. The guitars really to the fore. I think the drums are really good. I do think there's been a sort of criticism I was reading online of the drums being too compressed. I can hear a bit of deadness in the snare. It has got a heavy compression on it. But it's got that, what I'd call clarity and separation that we expect from Queensryche. I think they usually got good use for the last 3 albums, and I've obviously found a good partner there with the comeback album in 2013. The first one with Todd, they used James Barton, the engineer from Empire. Sound-wise, song-wise, it's got a kind of, there's some commercial sort of elements to it which recall Empire. It also has a sort of more introspective quality on some tracks which recalls Promised Land. I think the guitar sound's maybe the best and heaviest guitar sound they've harnessed since Empire. Empire's got one of the all-time great guitar sounds, we must say that. If you listen to the track Empire, it's one of the all-time great rhythm guitar sounds, I think, of the late 80s, early 90s. In terms of sort of heaviness and direction, it's got the sort of progressive edge of Rage for Order, and some of the sort of power metal elements of Warning. I don't hear sort of much Mindcrime. So let's kind of get into the tracks. And I've listened to this a good few times. I'd like to listen to it more. It's just one of those things to kind of get these reviews out there. It's pretty tough. So the opening track is In Extremis. Now, I heard this online, you know, before the video. I like this track. It's got a cool up tempo, it's got lots of energy. Again, it just lacks that hook. And it seems to go to a middle section fairly early on without really developing a chorus. I think one of the criticism I have of this album is sometimes the song titles aren't in the chorus. And people sort of forget Queensryche, although they're progressing the heavy. We'll walk in the shadows. You know, I don't believe in love. They've always have the title in the chorus a lot of the time. They have big hooks. So within that heaviness, within that progressiveness, there's a kind of standard songwriting type of structure that both Jeff Tate and Chris DeGarmo, I think particularly Chris DeGarmo, followed. And sometimes that's missing, but it does differentiate them from the DeGarmo Tate era. I do think they are stretching the sound. This isn't the kind of Queensryche doing some kind of Queensryche tribute to itself. They are stretching out with Todd La Torre. They are writing a new chapter. So that brings the next track, which is called Chapters. Again, this is sort of mid-tempo. The chorus is stronger on this. Lacks a bit of energy. So, okay opening tracks, not quite as kick-ass as I would like. In Extremis is about just under 5 minutes. Chapters is 3:44. Most of the tracks on this album are a little longer. Next up is Lost in Sorrow. I think things pick up with this. I think it's got a stronger hook. I think Todd does a really good vocal on this. His vocals are excellent throughout. He's getting away from just being the Jeff Tate sounding guy, and he's sounding more like himself. I should just say, quickly dipping in, that one of the things for Queensryche fans, that the main thing for Queensryche as a legacy band is now really people want to hear a lot of the Warning and the Rage for Order stuff. Although Mindcrime and Empire, the bigger albums, their core audience is this kind of power metal festival type audience, and that's the stuff they need to be playing. People want to hear Queen of the Reich take hold of the flame, maybe a deep cut like, you know, I don't know, Screaming Dozy or Chemical Youth or something. And Todd La Torre can deliver that. He can deliver those really high screams. It's hard for Jeff Tate to do that now. Although I will say I saw Jeff Tate do the Rage for Order and Empire albums back to back with a break in a local club near me, and he was great. And then he did Queen of the Reich at the end, and he did the scream. So still really enjoying Jeff Tate as well. Okay, so next up you've got, is it Sicdef? S-I-C-D-E-F. I'm not sure how you pronounce it. Pardon me. So this is bringing in more traditional metal tropes. It's got a galloping riff. It's got a double time bridge and then a half time chorus. I like this track. Again, I think it's kind of more interesting than the two openers. Again, you know, maybe lacking a bit of hook, but you know, it's good. Next up, this is where the album starts to kick into gear. We're now going into a really strong run of tracks for me. So we've got Behind the Walls. This is a single. Really cool video for this, quite conceptual if you get a chance to see it. This has got the best chorus on the album. It's got epic octave riffing from DeGarmo and Mike Stone. Now, should just come back to this. I'm not sure how much Mike Stone plays on the album. I suspect he does. So basically, Mike Stone was actually the guitarist on the Tribe tour. If you remember, they got Chris DeGarmo back for the Tribe recording some of it. He left, it didn't work out. Mike Stone came in, did the tour, and then he does a lot of Operation Mindcrime 2, An American Soldier, I think. Then he fell out. I don't know, he got the boot from Jeff Tate over money or something, and they got Parker Lundgren in. But I read in a book that Michael Wilton got on really well with Mike Stone. They had a good working relationship. When I saw them live on the Operation Mindcrime 2 tour, I actually thought Mike Stone was much better than Kelly Gray. And my mate had seen him on the Tribe tour and thought he did an excellent job. So I was pleased to hear he come back. I know some people would be kind of, oh, that guy from that bad period of Queensryche's come back. But you get to Wilton, I think it establishes a little more continuity. If they got another guy we didn't know, and there's actually Parker Lundgren, was in the band a while, so I think this is a good move, and I think it shows on the album. You can hear that intensity. So yeah, Behind the Walls, it's got great unison riffing, good lead breaks. I really like this track. It's kind of like a Rage for Order type track to me. Then we've got Nocturnal Light, which has got a mega intro, very Rage for Order. I think this might be a case where producers could done something really cool with the riffs and that. I really like it. It's got classic harmony riffs. I'm just looking at some notes. This is 5 minutes 44. Really cool. Then you've got Out of the Black. This is good. It's got a nice groove, good chorus. The verses have got a sort of 2 bars of 4 and a bar of 6, or if you want to say 3 bars of 4 and a bar of 2. And that's something that comes out in the album. There's quite a lot of interesting time signatures. There's some crazy odd time stuff we're going to come to. So I don't like this track as much as the previous two, but it is really good. And then we've got Forest. So this is a ballad. This one reminds me of kind of stuff off Promised Land. If you think of Bridge or Out of Time. Really like Todd's vocal on this. Quite emotional lyrics. Kind of cool video online. Some people criticised it because they don't want to hear a ballad, but Queensryche always did ballads, and this just brings a nice change of sort of feel to the album. Then you've got Realms. This does have the title in the chorus. It's got a really nice layered guitar intro. This is 3 minutes 49, so sort of short, punchy track. Again, not as maybe not as strong as the 2 tracks before, but it is solid. Then we've got Hold On, track 10. So this is the kind of the Empire catchy track. It's the most mainstream track, actually just releasing a new video. That's about a drop for this. It's got a really cool clean verse on it, and it brings out that classic clean guitar sound. Reminding me of Della Brown a bit. Really cool. That's great Queensryche chord voicings. I'm getting a vibe that it's in the tuning, D, playing the D, G, B and high E strings, doing that kind of thing they did well. I'm not sure if this album's in standard tuning or E flat. But really like this track. And then you've got the album's sort of centrepiece, epic at the end, Tormentum, which is 7 minutes and 30 seconds long. This is really, really good. This is one of the standout cuts with Behind the Walls. It's really aggressive, got a really cool aggressive vocal. The middle section's got crazy odd time, lots of stop-starts, atonal chords. I'm trying to work out the time signatures on the middle bit, but I haven't as yet penetrated it. But it's got crazy staccato riffing, really cool. Excellent ender. Now, when I looked at the track list, I was thinking the last track's Rebel Yell. I said, oh, that's weird. They've done a song. They've nicked Billy Idol's classic song title. No, it's a cover of Rebel Yell. It's a bonus track. It's fucking excellent. I was thinking, what are you doing a cover of Rebel Yell for? But I really like it. It don't really change much about the song. It's just heavier. They kind of use harmony guitars. I should say, actually, there's a lot of cool harmony guitar lines throughout as well. Often they'll have cool harmony end sections. Really like this really good vocal by Todd Latour. And it enables him again to kind of step away from that sort of Jeff Tate sound and show he's got a different side. I really like it. So that was a nice, pleasant surprise. Mark out of 10. This is what I think. Like, I like what they're doing with Todd. I didn't like the verdict as much as other people did, but a lot of people really raved about the verdict. If you loved the verdict, you're going to really like this album. You may like this more than the verdict. If you come in new to the Todd Queensryche, you're going to like this. I'm getting more into it. I don't think there's a bad track. I think it's got those, I'm including the Rebel Yell cover in this. It's got like those 5 really standout cuts that I mentioned. And then you've got sort of the other 4, 5 tracks that are really good, so the 6, 7 out of 10 tracks. So I think I would give it a 7 out of 10, but I feel it could go to more. I think if you love the verdict, I think you'll love this, and I think you will be an 8 or a 9 maybe. A lot of people are saying this is their best album since Empire. I would maybe say it's the best since Promised Land. Although, I do listen to Here and Now Frontier just because it's the DeGarmo thing. I think, for the Reich, the real positives of the Reich at the moment, the production's really good. It's heavy. I think they've got Mike Stone in. They've got a really cool drummer. They get a great sound. I would just like to hear more emphasis on song titles and strong hooks in the choruses. So getting in touch with that DeGarmo Tate aspect of the writing that made Queensryche catchy, but heavy at the same time. So I maybe feel like there's better to come. Looking forward to seeing them on tour, hopefully somewhere. I look forward to hearing some of these tracks. So that is my review of Digital Knowledge Alliance. Well worth checking out. Remember to share and subscribe, and I'll see you again soon. Thanks very much. Bye now.